All right. Do we rock and roll here? Since we're running a little late. My fault. Okay. I got 10:03. I'm going to call the February 18th, 2021 meeting of the Airport Advisory Commission to order. We'll note for the record that all the commission members are present. And at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I have a motion by Commissioner Call and a second by Commissioner Armstrong to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion or debate? Hearing none, I'll ask for a voice vote. A yes or I approves the agenda as presented. A no or nay rejects it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, passes unanimously. Next up, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the Thursday, January 21st, 2021 meeting. I have a motion by Commissioner Armstrong to approve the minutes from January 21, 2021 to approve them as presented. Do I have a second? I have a second by Commissioner Burris. Any discussion or debate on the minutes? I will ask for a voice vote. All those in favor of the minutes as presented, approving the minutes as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, passes 5-0, as did the agenda, 5-0. Mr. Stark.
Morning.
Rocking and rolling. Let everybody know, we're having some technical difficulties due to the power outage that we experienced 2 days ago. And as a result, we have monitors here. The monitors overhead are not functioning. So, audience, I apologize. If any of you want to come up and sit where you can read the monitors, you're welcome to do so. We got room. You know, Mr. Nahar, Mr. Fuentes, and you guys, you're welcome to sit up here. So come on down. All right.
Good thing is I'm not working off the slides.
Okay.
So, 180 is, but I'm not. So we'll start then with number 5, Air Senator Director Status Update. Good morning. Hope everybody's staying warm. Hope nobody's wrecked any cars or any fun things like that. The drive-in this morning was pretty interesting. We got about 2 inches of snow up the hill, and it quits at about 8 Mile Draw and looks just like this the rest of the way in. So it's nice down here, but it's pretty messy on 70 coming in. So we'll start with operations. Aircraft operations are running at about 80% of what they did in January last year. Some of you may remember January is typically a slower month for operations and air passengers and pretty much everything. Right after the holidays, and everybody slows down and starts doing other things they're not necessarily involved with aviation. So it always slows down a bit, but we still ran 80% of what we did last January. So that's not too bad considering the circumstances. It continues to improve just a few ticks every month. Passenger boardings were up over percentage-wise over last month, but not actual number-wise. They're about 200 lower number-wise than in December, but at 84% of what we ran in January of last year. So that's an improvement over the 73% of December that we did last month. So again, we continue to slowly improve as things get better with the COVID. That's a good sign for us. Fuel flow fees are 80% of what they were, 84% of what they were last year, so still down a little bit, but not too badly. Landing fees are still way up at 199% of January last year, and parking fees are 395% of what we had last year, all due to the larger airplanes coming in, all the storage that we had. I haven't had a chance to total up my numbers for this week, but as of last week, we had 508 airliners stored on the airport as of last Friday. So we're running about the same little turnover where the numbers tick up a little bit and then tick down a little bit as the airlines begin to put some of their airplanes back in service. I saw quite a few Uniteds leave this week, so they're starting to go back into service. One thing that is interesting, our new parking and landing fees just went into effect in January, on January 1. So the difference from December of last year, or December 20, to January of 21, is almost $20,000 a month difference. So that's the difference that our new fees made for us.
Cool. All right.
I touched on air service and that it continues to be improving. One major event that did happen last week that I think everybody probably heard about, but I'll make sure that you did, is we are getting the Phoenix flight back. One flight a day. It will be a remain overnight flight that will arrive here at 11:56 p.m. I know it's late. And then it will depart at 12 p.m. the next day. That service begins on April 3rd, which is a Saturday, I believe. If you want to buy a ticket, it's $145 if you buy it today, aa.com. Have your credit cards ready. So that's good news. The other things that we discussed with American on that phone call was when we get back to normal at some point. Obviously, there's no promises. Everything's always in flux with the changes that are going on with the recovery. But we hope to have the third flight for Dallas back sometime early summer. So that's, like I said, again, no promise, but it was good news to hear that's what they're looking at, and it'll certainly be based on the actual traffic. So we're hoping that gets us back closer to normal, at least the normal number of flights as we had last year, and then we'll see how the passenger levels go. Detachments coming in at the end of the month, February 27th, we've got 3 KC-135s coming in to do a 3-day detachment. It's one of their normal detachments that they do. Come down from Washington, and they stay for a few days, and what they do is they build approaches and then they test them. So each student is required to build a few approaches, and then they go and fly those approaches. They're not anything published, they're their own. The idea is what they would do if they went into a combat situation and had to fly into a place that didn't have any. So they do this a couple times a year, usually once in the spring and once in the fall. Personnel. I know everybody will be glad to hear that we have made offers to 2 folks, one for the deputy director, who we have not heard back from yet, one for the property and contracts coordinator, whom we have heard back from, that they accepted. I'm hoping that next month I'll have them here and can introduce you guys to them. So that's good news. We did get back a notification that the final comment period for the Talon Airspace Realignment, I'm sure you guys remember that from about a year ago. The Holloman and the Air Force were working on that. We had put in our recommendation for alternative number 3, which was expanding the Talon airspace south of Roswell and expanding the complex on the west side of the state over near Silver City. That way it gave the Air Force the most choices of where to go when they're doing their F-16 training. In the end, after the process has gone through, there's still one comment period, which I think is more or less just a comment for the records because it's in the FAA part of the NEPA process, which will be over at the end of this month. But they chose the alternative 1, which is only expanding the Talon airspace. So it means when they use that airspace, there won't be an option to go west, which is what we were hoping for. It will all come east over toward us. What that means to us, it means nothing for our airline service. There might be some minor rerouting when certain pieces of the airspace are open for use, but we're talking less than a 10-minute delay on anything in flight. It's probably not even going to be that, more like 2 to 3 minutes. But realistically, no effect on our airline service. The biggest effect that is possible is the effect that it would have on our Navy detachments that come and stick around with us for a few months. We've had numerous discussions with the Air Force and with the Navy over this possibility. The Navy is fairly negative about it. The Air Force is extremely positive about it. They're like, yeah, no problem, we'll work it out, we'll schedule around them. So it remains to be seen what will happen when that actually comes. My thoughts are that we make sure when we know the Navy's coming, we give Holloman good heads up. I've got good contacts over there, and we get that discussion going early in the advanced portion of Navy's planning so that they're comfortable with what's going on. Right now, they're not. If that airspace goes active with F-16s, the Navy will not fly in it. Excuse me. But that's been transparent all along. We've made sure everybody knew that on both sides, and the Air Force swears to us that it will be workable. So that's what we're counting on. I think, as everybody knows, the Navy's not coming this year, but next year that we're certainly going to be in the mix again. And that is all I have. Questions?
Questions for Mr. Stark? On Air Center operations, right?
Yeah, on the update.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't, I don't think I mentioned leases. We do have some leases coming up.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's some other parts too, but anything on what he's talked about so far? Good, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we do have some leases coming up. We've got one T-hangar lease and Hangar 91A and B coming up, a storage lease for Thurston Woods coming up, a T-hangar lease for Jared Putman as well. Those are all going to legal this week. New leases, I've got one for Patty Rodak, who is taking over Kerry Hunter's lease for a while to dispose of the stuff that was in his estate. And then Gravity Pad Towers, we're working on that lease for 2 monopoles to replace the structure that right now, the water tower that holds up all of the cell tower stuff. So we'll have 2 small cell towers going up in the same area as the new water tower.
You want to mention the Building 100 lease? Which we already approved.
I didn't, but that was last time.
Yeah.
But it did go through council. So Building 100 is being leased by Ascent for ground service equipment and a small office where they'll do some book work that's going to be associated with aircraft that they'll either be purchasing that are already on site, or they'll be flying more in to store. So they're basically getting a footprint here at the Air Center to get ready for their big project as the hangar gets built.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Mr. Mayor, I did have one comment.
Yes.
I just wanted to express appreciation, Scott, for the quick manner in which you responded to that FAA study. We were contacted by a commercial company, SmartNet, to place a GPS receiving antenna on our campus, and Scott was very kind and looked through all the materials, and that antenna is now in place on our campus, so thank you.
I'm interested to see how that's going to work. I mean, being as it doesn't broadcast, I'm interested in the technical side of that. So when you get schooled on it, I'd love to know.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? All right. Let's move on.
Hey, number 6, new crunch pad. Have been working with AirSail, as you guys know, for a while, and they've been slow to make decisions because that's the way corporations work.
Whoa, that's kind of a... You want to take that knife out of your back there?
That's right. Well, I know Randy's behind me, but he won't kill me. He has to work with them too. But at any rate, I do have, at least right now, the request to move forward with a lease, and I'm working with Ron Wolf on that. So I'll be getting a proposed lease to them. If we come to agreement on the lease, then we'll be taking the next step toward building that teardown pad.
Okay. What about the other Gen Air activity? Do you?
Gen Air has some material on site for their teardown pad, and still kind of in the same boat for them. That they're getting ready to start. I've got plans sitting in my office for it. Looks pretty good. I want to make sure that the drainage around that area gets covered well. Other than that, there shouldn't really be any issues. It's going to be EPA compliant and everything else. So looks like it's a pretty good plan. I don't know what their start date is, but it's sooner than later.
Okay. Any
On
questions?
on their building, they're still dealing with financing issues. And so he's wanting to get the tear down pad done first and start that process, and then keep working the addition to the building.
Okay. Fair enough. Anything else on that? Okay.
That's all I have on that.
All right.
Okay, the water line project. So you guys should have a slide in front of you showing the route. And with that, I will hand that over to Mr. Nahar to talk about any technical side of it, and then once he's done, Juan Fuentes will talk about the financial side.
Okay. Perfect.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commission. I have reviewed the professional service agreement. I like what they're doing. I do like that they went with HDR that has the water model, do the water modeling. I did reach out to HDR Engineering yesterday. And again, as we described last month, we're going to design it for maximum ability. And the water model will tell us what we're going to need to do, how we're going to tie it in, will we need pump station and that kind of stuff. But everything looks good. Utility Director Lorenzo Sanchez and I will be part of the team, and we're ready, willing, and able to help out all we can.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Time frame for the different phases for this. I think there's, what, four phases?
There's 4 phases. Phase 1 is it's going to be all on funding, Commissioner.
Okay.
So if you read if you've got a copy of this, 1.6 million is for construction for phase 1. Hopefully with this legislature or whatever else is happening out there in politics, we'll get phase 2. The one thing that Utility Director Sanchez and I were talking about, we're not too sure if phase 5 doesn't have to be phase 2.
Phase 4?
Yeah, phase 4.
Earl Cummings,
should
yeah, I was
be-
looking
yeah.
at that, to the new water tower.
Yeah, because it's all going to depend on the water model.
Right.
And what the model will tell us, how will we improve efficiency tying in directly to the tank, or where we're going to have a pump lift station. And my gut tells me we're going to need a lift station. Ballpark figure, 250K just for a lift station.
Lift or booster?
Well, booster station,
Yeah,
pump station.
because we don't want to get those confused.
No, not for domestic water. But a booster station is about 250K based on what I see bidding on the other projects in this area of the state.
So, excuse me, but, so the booster station would be necessary to run lines all the way down through, say, to the end of the yellow line?
Yes, when you're going to do the water model, you're gonna look at the whole system.
Right, but do you think we'd need the booster just to replace the existing transite line running to 1166?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
A booster station will be, in my gut feeling, phase 1. So you take that 1.6, now subtract 250 to 300K from that, that leaves you how much water line you'll be able to do. My gut feeling.
Okay. Mr. Fuentes, you want to?
To chair members, on the financial piece, because this is a appropriation that was awarded to the county has been provided the signed agreement with Armstrong. They have been forwarded that agreement with the requested document to DFA so that they can receive the notice of obligation. Before any work can we can proceed with any work, we need to get that notice of obligation so that we guarantee that we're going to get reimbursed from the state. Once they receive that, they'll give us the green light to proceed forward. Now, we are going to be carrying the initial expense on the Air Center budget for the engineering services. Once we get those invoices, we will pay them, provide the county a canceled check for those services provided, in turn, which they will submit to the state for reimbursement. So we will be following that process. It's part of the requirements that the state is asking all entities who receive appropriation money. So for the initial engineering services, we'll carry it in this year. Next year, we'll budget for the construction money as well.
Any questions? All right, on this, though, so if I remember right, the deadline for the 5% obligation is actually next Thursday, the 25th. And so the paperwork's gone off to DFA, and DFA has not yet blessed this as meeting that, or have they?
Well, they've already submitted the required paperwork, and it's in review. So I believe we're already kind of in the safe zone as far as meeting that deadline. It's
Okay.
just a matter of DFA reviewing it, approving it, or asking for any additional documentation.
And the other question that's near and dear to my heart is we pay Armstrong when they submit their invoices to us, and we turn around and invoice the county, and the county pays us, or they wait till get reimbursed from the state. Has that been worked out yet?
I believe from my understanding is once we pay Armstrong, we provide the county the canceled check. They in turn will use that documentation to submit it to the state.
Okay.
And then they will get reimbursed, which in turn they'll give us a check to
Okay,
reimburse us.
So we're going to wait on state reimbursement, basically.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Good enough. Other questions on this one? This one's, and you guys all know this is a little convoluted, complex. We made the finances more complex than I would like, but I do think it's important that this, because of that complexity, that this group continue to get updates on this on a regular basis, so that we don't end up in some kind of difficulty. But doesn't mean we spend a lot of time on it, just we need updates. Okay? All right.
Okay, I have a request. Ms. Juanita Jennings is not here unless she's online in playing God mode somewhere. So what I would like to ask that we can do is go to number 9 and come back to that, if you guys don't mind. Okay, so number 9.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Go ahead.
Number 9 is the CARES Act with USEDA, Hangar 84 project. There's not a lot to update on that. We still have not gotten the grant yet. We are still in the works. They're still reviewing it. We do have a request from one of their engineers for some more information. And I've discussed it with our engineers, and basically it's structural building stuff that our civil engineers really don't deal with. So I need to get with EDA, double check with them, and make sure I understand exactly what they need and when, because it's sort of a chicken or the egg type of request, the information that they're asking for. We can't really procure until we get approved for the grant, but then if we're asking for information from engineers and they want to charge us, it's one of those kind of things. So I kind of need to see at what level they need information, if it's a high level, and then I try and get that information to them. Otherwise, there's not a lot has changed. I've had discussions with CAVU about how much skin in the game that they have, and they're holding to their $500,000 until we get the grant. They are willing to talk about more, and once we get the grant, then we'll look at redoing the letter of commitment. They had one in the grant application for the $500,000, and then we would look at redoing that for something higher. Questions?
Well, let me add a little tidbit to this too. In the capital outlay requests before the legislature, an additional request has been filed through the governor's office for $5 million for this project. This is not to be confused with the $5 million the county asked for infrastructure on the southeast side. This would be a second $5 million request for this particular project. Now, as we all know, just because it's on the list doesn't mean it's approved. And even if it's passed by the legislature, the governor does have line item veto authority. But it is in the mix, and it is a subject of some discussion. And we're going to be working on that to try and resolve all the potential funding. Funding for this continues to be the question mark. I don't think there's any debate about the need to upgrade the facilities. We want hangars that are capable of handling modern aircraft. Otherwise, we don't do anything but park. But we want to be able to accommodate the larger planes, and this is basically one way to upgrade our facility. So we will see by the time we meet again whether or not that survives the legislature. But we're still looking at alternatives for funding.
It's interesting. I wish we had deep pockets and we could just pay for this, but it's interesting seeing how we're cobbling things together, and it is fairly complicated, but it is something that we desperately need. We need very badly to have the large buildings that will house the large modern aircraft. It's, as you guys have all heard from different sources in this meeting, that's really what we need more than anything. That's what is missing in our puzzle at this point in the MRO world.
Yep.
And that's pretty much all I have. Not much of an update at this point, but we'll get back with the EDA and make sure that there's a full understanding of what they need and how to get it, and get back to you guys next month.
Okay. Well, we're still waiting for Ms. Jennings.
So while I was standing here, there was one more thing I thought about that really probably should have included in my initial brief that you and I had discussed, but Senate Bill 133, the MRG bill. At least want to make this group aware of it. So there is a bill that's going through the legislature this year that is to establish a fund that will be, it was $9 million, is that correct? Is that what you remember, Mr. Mayor? It was something like that. Pretty substantial fund at any rate, to establish minimum revenue guarantees for air service across the state to a lot of the smaller communities. And it has a breakdown of above and below 20,000 people in a town as to what you get, and it's a 90-10 grant for the smaller communities and a 50-50 grant for the larger communities, but it's pretty generous. I want to say about $1.5 million per grant up to. But there are some issues with it, and one of them for us being the type of aircraft that could be used for this program. They list it as a twin turboprop. So it's clearly focused on the smaller communities, but it's the way it's worded, it's a weird bill. I would, if it was cleaner, it would just say, hey, you big guys, you don't get anything. But really that equipment definition cuts us out because we don't fly any twin turboprops to anywhere that we go. We're flying twin jets to everywhere. So I'm hoping that as we talk through this with the legislature, that people will listen and they'll change that so that the larger cities can have a piece of it as well. In the end, the state DOT Aviation Division will be administering these grants. So I'm not sure that in my mind, I'm not sure that the equipment definition that way needs to be there, because if the Aviation Division is looking at priorities for different cities and different service, they still have the ability to award or not award a grant based on that. So it seems to me that it's a bit restrictive, and that language should be changed to include the cities the size of Roswell, so that we can use it for jets as well.
I have a question. Just a statement. To that point, you talk about the turboprops, smaller airports, do they have the infrastructure to even worry about air service to guarantee anything?
So some would.
Well, a couple, but for the
Well,
most part, I would say no.
Yeah, I would say you're going to find a lot of them that are not going to have the runways that can even land a King Air 350, which is what we're talking about.
Or the staff or anything
But-
else they would need to fuel the airplanes or
Right,
move baggage and everything else.
right.
ESA, so there's a lot that goes with that, so they probably need to change the wording.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of other problems, I think, that are going to wind up affecting the smaller ones, but I haven't really looked at that too much since I'm done with the report. But you're right. I think that it is probably not as workable as it is overall. But for us, it basically cuts us out with that aircraft definition. I mean, I understand that you want something that defines minimum equipment, so you don't have a guy with a caravan who wants to fly, which we've seen before in this state. You want something a little bit better, and so that I understand. But this basically caps it at the twin turbo level.
One thing about that, Scott, I was just looking on the legislative website, and it doesn't list it on the Senate floor committee today, and today's the last day to introduce things. And it's only been through one Senate committee.
It's going today?
It went yesterday
Oh, it went
to one
yesterday.
of the Senate committees, but it was referred to Senate Finance, and it's not on their agenda. That doesn't mean they can't add it, but it's got to be on the floor of the Senate by today in
Okay.
order to move forward. Today's
So
the
it-
drop
No, they
dead date.
can move it later.
Today's the day it has to be introduced.
The last day to introduce new legislation, but this has already been introduced.
Okay.
So it's already in the hopper, so this could move forward.
Yeah, the last time I looked, it was in the first committee. I forget, it has a long name. I forget which one it was, but it didn't have a date yet. So I'm glad that they at least looked at it yesterday.
Yeah, it passed one of the Senate committees yesterday with a due pass recommendation.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll talk to our contact up there and see if we can check on that. Okay. Anything else on this matter? Do you want to keep waiting for a little bit? Maybe we could talk about next month's meeting.
That's what I was thinking. We can do that, and then if nothing else, I'll get on one of these and I'll wing it.
Okay, that'll work.
I at least looked through it yesterday, so I know what it looks like.
Not a problem. So, I've already said I'd like to keep the crunch pad and the water line projects on. Obviously, the Hangar 84, a lot can happen between now and next month. Anything else of great? Anything else differently that we want to put on? Anybody else want to? And you're hoping to have the two new people here by next month?
I'm hoping so. Yeah, I'm thinking we're probably a couple weeks out on start dates. I talked to Naomi on Monday or Tuesday, I think, of this week.
Okay.
I forget. And so really, time to put in notices with former employers and that sort of thing. So I think we shouldn't be too far off.
All right,
I'm excited.
good. Anything else anybody wants to add to this time? We can always add more stuff later.
I just want to mention that my term ends at the end of next month in March, and I'm actually going to be out of town during next month's meeting, so I'll miss that. But I wanted to thank everybody. It's been a real pleasure to serve on this commission. I've learned a lot. I think we all probably have learned a lot. But I thank the mayor for appointing me, and it's just been a real interesting experience. So it's been good also to get to know everyone. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner. Well, why don't you go ahead and
Yep.
wing it.
Over here.
That's okay. We have to be flexible.
Okay, so number 8, MRO Americas. We talked about that a little bit last month, and I went over what it was. So for refresher, next slide, please. What is MRO Americas? It's basically the best place for us to go to get in contact with folks in the airline maintenance world. It's absolutely the premium conference in that world. This year it'll be April 27th through 29th in Orlando, Florida. And next slide, please. We do have a booth, and will be attending, at least a couple of us. That's part of what we want to still work out, is who's going. But we have a 10 by 10 booth space. And within the booth space, we'll be having collateral materials that sells the Air Center, so all the giveaway stuff, all of the informational stuff. We're going to look to do some pop and fizz and bang, to kind of to make attention, get attention for us. We'll have a love seat, place to sit where we can have one-on-one conversations with folks that are important to us. That's one of the things that I want to work out before, if we can have as many meetings set up as possible before getting there.
There she
with
is.
People that are interested.
You're rescued.
I started for you, so that's okay.
that's
Come over
okay.
here because you can't see the slides.
We don't have the pop monitors
Yeah.
working, so.
I just getting started.
Good. Well, I do apologize. I was in another meeting. So we are on Roswell Presence. Do you have the clicker?
Clicker.
Thanks. So he went over everything, what the MRO is and all of that fun stuff.
He just started. Scott just started.
Perfect. All right. So we've been asked as public affairs to help with the booth space. And so this is kind of what we had envisioned last year before the MRO conference was canceled. We wanted to have kind of a love seat, an alien experience for aviation, and then also utilize our Fly Roswell brand for geo-targeting around the actual convention. Overhead above the booth, which we would have to get approval from Aviation Week, we do plan to have a helium shaped spaceship that we are getting estimates on, and we do have to have approval from Aviation Week to actually display that. But we felt that with the number of booth spaces, that would be a very eye-catching opportunity for our booth, since it's only a 10 by 10. Banners and backdrops, we would need to develop those to target the audience that we currently have, as what we have in stock right now is just overview of the city. Whoops. So I'll do it, thank you. Marketing in Orlando, so this is the actual banner ads that we've put together and developed. The reason you see the arrows going through the picture is because it's actually a digital display ad. So when people are arriving at the Orlando airport, or they're within a 25-mile radius of the convention, if they're looking on their mobile device for like a place to eat, or maybe they need an Uber or a Lyft, this is the kind of display ad that will be popping up on those mobile devices. The cost to run this is about $5,000. We will run the campaign for 2 weeks. So a week prior to the actual conference, as people are arriving, to set up booths, and then the full week of the conference and 2 days thereafter. And this is called geofencing. Geofencing is when we're very specific in targeting an area. Basically, we're putting a fence, an imaginary fence around the convention center and around the airport during this 2-week time to serve this ad. This is the booth layout of the conference. You can see how many booths are within the conference there. There's quite a few. And then we are booth number 1479, which will be right across from the Wichita Air, capital of the world, and next to Southwest United Industries, and some others. And so when you're competing with this many booths, it's really important for our booth to stand out, and that's why we're hoping to get approval to have that helium aircraft ship over our booth. These are some of the couch ideas that we had originally. When it was in Dallas, we thought we would buy them. We now feel that we'll have to rent them from the trade show company because it is in Florida. We're looking for a more modern, realistic desert theme as we recreate a 1947 crash experience inside the booth. This is some uplighting that again will separate and put our booth apart from others. We'll have different lighting available during the conference, and these are just price points for that lighting. These are our promotional items. Right now, we've already purchased the alien glasses. The yoga balls will serve as a chair, if you will, so people can sit on them, take a break. With a 10 by 10 space, we won't get to have as many, so we will only have 10, and we'll put them in a row to the left and to the right side of the booth because we're kind of boxed in. And this is the budget breakdown for this program. So registration booth was $57.20. It includes 2 delegate passes who can attend the conference as well as all sessions. Airfare, approximately $620 per person. I did include the range for round trip. The hotel accommodations, Orlando's really expensive compared to Roswell, so it's about $233 per night. For the total of the 5 nights for setup and tear down, it came out to about $1165. I'm sorry, that should say per the week. That's my error. Per diem, if it's a city staff, is at $200, which is $40 per day. That will include breakfast, lunch, and dinner if it's not provided throughout the conference time. If food is provided as part of the conference package, that piece will be eliminated. Carpet flooring, so one of the things about a convention is it's all concrete floor. They don't provide the carpet or any kind of flooring other than concrete. If we're going to have our individuals there for the entire conference, they need to have some type of padding on the floor. The couch and interior set, so they have 2 different options. We have Troy Trade Show, or Freeman is their other display. It's about $800 for some of the items that we're looking at, and that's just the bare minimum, the couch and a couple of plants to kind of just give it a different look. Banners, we can produce those here and have those shipped out. They're $75 a piece. And then a tablecloth, we don't currently have a Roswell Air Center tablecloth, and we do feel it should be branded as the Air Center rather than the City of Roswell. And then our giveaways, it's about $150 for those yoga balls. The alien glasses were already purchased last fiscal budget, and we already have those in stock. As part of this MRO conference, again, internet, electricity, and AV are not included in the booth rental registration, so we do have to pay for that separate. That would come out to $350. And then any freight and shipping costs of our giveaway items or collateral materials that we would want to send would be about $1,200, depending on the weight. And so the total cost for 2 people is about $12,540. For 1 person, it's about $10,000, and then for 3 people, about $14,000. So that's what we've worked on so far, and I will answer any questions.
Questions, concerns? All right, Jim, jump in there.
Just want to make a comment. Your booth is in a very good place. You had Honeywell and Wichita right there. That's a very good spot. So
Back to it.
both those, when they say the capital of the world for aviation, that's true with Wichita, with all the manufacturing. And then again with Honeywell, as many divisions as they have, that's a really good spot. So you got lucky. That's all I wanted to say. But it does lend value to the cost. So just the people around you is really going to help. So that's all.
Thank you.
Okay, anything? Scott, on the Honeywell, don't we get, doesn't Honeywell bring in some type of plane regularly for testing, or am I thinking of someone else?
Yeah, Honeywell's been here over the last month a couple of times. They brought in a King Air and their 757, but they've been here before a couple of times too.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but they're doing some kind of testing here. And
Yeah, they're doing flight testing. They're over in Phoenix, so it's just a hop, skip, and a jump for them.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Interesting. Okay, well, then we'll make friends.
Absolutely.
Other questions or comments? All right. Let's have this on the next one, March MRO update too, because we will actually have the April, if I remember right, April airport advisory is scheduled for the 15th of April, and this show starts, we're looking at traveling on the 26th.
25th, a Sunday.
25th is Sunday. Where I'm going with this is we've been meeting the third Thursday because of Commissioner Armstrong's schedule. And I'd like to throw it open for discussion next month for when should we stay with the third Thursday? Do we want some other time? It's better, let's talk about that a little bit. This does occur at the same time the county commission meets, and I know there's been some interest that some people would attend that meeting, would also like to come to this. So I'm game to move it, but let's talk about it next month. Okay? All right. And unless we have something else, we could actually, I had a 25-minute special council meeting last Thursday. We're here at like 46 minutes. I'm on a roll. I'm golden. So unless there's anything else that we need to discuss, I have us at 10:48, and we're adjourned. All right? Well, one of the things we weren't able to get